We're live.
Okay. Yay. Okay.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Heartbeat Braves live show. Today, I am joined by the amazing Brody. I'm sure you know them, but Brody, would you like to introduce yourself and tell us what Heartbeat Braves is about?
Sure. My name is Brody. I'm from the channel A2 Brody. I am a non-binary Cherokee booktuber, and I talk a lot about that on my channel. I run the Indigithon with my friend Michelle every November, and on my channel you can find like queer lit, native lit, and horror. That's what I do a lot. And Heartbeat Braves, or this side, is a romance between two urban native characters, and it's supposed to be rivals to lovers, co-workers. Um, Basically, the male love interest gets hired into this urban Indian center and is assigned to take over the protagonist's job, sort of, and then it's them figuring out that dynamic while falling in love and trying to keep their small, center afloat.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a very well, I found it really like easy and accessible to read. Sometimes with other romance books, I'm like, oh my God, this is gonna be so heavy. I don't want to do it. I'm not ready. But with
Right.
this one, it felt really smooth right away. Hi, Candice.
Mhm. It felt lighter than I thought it would.
Yeah, even in the like they had a moment. We're gonna talk spoilers here, just for anyone who doesn't know what we do here, we talk spoilers. So even in the parts that were hard to read, they weren't as bad as I thought they would be. When they get thrown out and um when Henry's asking Ryan about the like if she's ever had any like weird interactions with people who are not native, even
Mhm.
those I didn't feel were
Mhm.
too like traumatic to read, because that just it gets me in a bad mood when I read those kinds of scenes.
Yeah. Um, One thing that I noticed while reading it, because like I said, I read a lot of native lit, and everyone kind of knows native lit is usually a lot heavier. So I liked that this was
Hmm.
light and it was like fluffy, and it made me happy that it didn't have to be really dark and traumatic and
Yeah.
sad. It's just like showing that like native people can have like cute romances too, you know. And
Yeah,
even though like bad shit happens, it doesn't have to be the center of the world. Like
exactly. Yeah, agreed. So what did you think about our main characters?
I really liked Henry and Rayanne. I feel like I related a lot to Rayanne, so
Hmm.
I think that's why I didn't like her that much. um, because like I am that like workaholic person who like always needs to be on top of everything. I'm kind of a control freak. I'm a Virgo, and Henry is just more like chill. Yeah. So I liked Henry a lot, and Rayanne I found to be a very like realistic character. Like she had a lot of flaws, and that's why I liked her.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that they were both like really relatable to me, because I can absolutely relate to like the anger that Ryan feels when, someone who doesn't know as much comes in and has to take your job, basically.
Mhm.
But I can also relate, and I think now I relate a lot more to Henry, because I still live with my mom, and finding a job is hard, and I have a college degree, and nothing's guaranteed in this life. So I understood the struggle. At least that part of it.
Mhm.
Ooh, Bridget. Hi, Bridget. I
No.
liked it. Cuteness. I loved how much a role the heroine's grandfather played into her emotional development. Yes. Yes, that
Yeah.
was so cute to see.
Mhm. Yeah, that's one thing that I also related to. I related to a lot in this book, but the elders in the book. I really like the inclusion of that because like we don't really get a lot of older protagonists in books like romance, and it was nice to see that included because it is a big part of like my culture at least is like taking care of the elders and learning from the elders and having them be part of your experience. So I really
Yeah.
liked. And oh god, it made me cry though whenever he was. Are we talking spoilers now? Are we going to talk
Yeah.
spoilers?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah. Yeah.
whenever he was like, I don't need you to do everything for me and you need to quit going behind my back and I can take care of myself, like that broke my heart.
Yeah. It's hard. It's hard because, and I go through it with, I went through it with my grandparents last year because we were going to Austin for a graduation, and all three of us needed to have our passport updated. Is that what it's called in English? I don't
Yeah.
know. But we went there, and the lady, they really treat old people like they're not capable of doing things themselves. So
Mhm.
they were like, so your grandpa needs to go for a copy of the thing, blah, 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 to report that his passport had been stolen. So I was like, because he was right next to me, I was like, oh, okay, you can just tell him that.
Mhm.
And so it's really like that kind of struggle where you really want to take care of them, but
Mhm.
also know that they are, their own people, and they want to keep that part of their, I guess, dignity.
Mhm. Yeah, I really liked it. I think the grandpa was one of my favorite characters.
Yeah, he was a lot of fun. He was
The
not.
side in this were really good.
Yeah, yeah, that's something I really enjoyed too. They weren't. The thing that I notice most and that angers me most about romance is that none of the side characters are ever that um rememberable. How do I say
Mhm.
that? Like unforgettable. They're always like, there
Like
to support
memorable.
the
Mhm.
the main characters fall in love and whatever. And with this one,
Mhm.
it wasn't like that at all. We even get like sneak peeks um into their own lives and into their own points of views, which was
Right.
fun.
Well, I
Yeah.
think that's because it's the first in a four-book series. And like from what I read, like a bunch of the side characters in this one have their own books later in the series.
Oh,
So,
okay, that's cool. Yeah, who were your favorite side characters?
oh gosh, what's her name? Margaret.
Yeah,
I like
Margie.
I liked her. I liked the grandpa, and I also liked I can't remember. I read a lot of books this month. Hold on. Um, Esther. I liked Esther too.
Oh, yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah,
I
they
think she
were
was the most.
also, yeah, they were all really fun and likable. Bridget says that the grandpa felt realistic on a level that older characters often are not in romance. And I'm going to go out of my way and say that in any of the books that I've read with older characters, the older characters are always there to like provide wisdom and be like, I don't know, like the grandma in every single Disney movie where they're like
Mhm.
the great wise people. And in this one, it wasn't like that. Like he was, wise, but he wasn't like preachy or anything. So I really enjoyed that.
Yeah.
That was fun. So what did you think of the plot?
I don't know. I felt like the plot was one spot where it was kind of lacking a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I felt like because for me, like the whole conflict, right, is that like Rayanne and Henry, at least the way I'd always heard it about this book, where they were like fighting for this spot in like this position. And then the
Mm-hmm.
plot is like, oh well, they get together, but they're losing the center. Like they're losing
Uh-huh.
their staff, and then like where they're the next building that they're supposed to go is falling through. And I felt like there wasn't really much of a streamlined plot. Like
Oh, okay.
I could have used if it was a little bit tighter. Um,
Oh, okay.
yeah, yeah. If it was like a little bit more like cohesive because I felt like we were kind of like
Mm.
bouncing around a little
Yeah, that's what I noticed too. Because I enjoyed the fact that it wasn't just about them getting together. Like we got to see how the center was struggling, but
bit.
it was a little bit all over the place. Like the transitions were not smooth at all. Sometimes I
Right.
would be like, "Oh, we're at the center. Oh, we're in Ryan's house. Why? Or
Mhm.
apartment?" It's like, when did we get there?
Right. Or it's like, oh,
Yeah.
we're at like the food place, and then
Mhm.
we're at the building, and then we're here, and then we're on the bus, and it was just kind of like I wish the transitions would have been a little smoother because I think that would have helped the plot go a lot smoother. I guess it was a little bit
Yeah.
jumbled for me.
Yeah, I agree. But I do love that it wasn't just about the characters falling in
Yeah.
love, that
Mhm.
the center had its own issues, and they had a lot of issues. Like I
Mhm.
was dying. As I was reading it, I was like, "Ugh."
Uh, for me, I'm not a huge romance reader.
Mhm,
Um, because I feel like the stakes are never super high in at least the romances I pick up. So
mhm.
I like there was something else going on with it, that there was this other conflict of them losing the center and not having funding and the racism that they faced. And I like that it showed that because that's all realistic,
Yes.
and it gives it a little more something rather than just like, oh, my hot coworker who I'm like,
Yeah, 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 yeah. I do enjoy that. How do you feel about the like the development of the relationship between Henry and Ryan?
I felt like, and like I said, I think it could just be me, like, not really knowing what the deal is with this book going into it. I thought that they were going to hate each other. I thought this was like a good old enemies to lovers, coworker, like they're gonna like be, I didn't know what I thought it was. I liked it while I was reading it, but it took me a while to get into it because I had different expectations for it.
Oh, okay.
I
Yeah,
thought
yeah,
it
yeah.
was a little quick,
Hmm. Yeah,
but
it wasn't as slow burn as I thought it was going to be.
yeah, I definitely thought it was gonna be more slow burn. But I mean, I liked how it ended up. I thought it was cute.
Yeah. Yeah, me too. I wasn't really I don't know what I expect in romance books anymore because every time someone says hate to love, they mean like mildly dislike each other to love. So I was like, okay. And it's funny because the like Henry doesn't hate her at all. Like he
No,
thinks
no.
she's a little bit intense, but he doesn't hate her. He actually like I feel like he feels for her, like he understands why she's mad at him. So that
Right.
one like that it didn't take away any tension, but I think it would have been fun to see him hating her because she had like these like unrealistic quote unquote unrealistic expectations
Mhm.
about her own goals concerning the center. And even when he says like you haven't been there long enough, and she's like, well,
Mhm.
neither have you, but
Right.
he still knows that that it's still a little hard because he sees his uncle who has been working there.
Right. And I don't feel like she ever hated him either. I feel like it was just
Yeah.
like an annoyance at first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Because she was like, oh, this guy is going to take over my job, but at least he's hot. That's kind of how I
Exactly.
felt.
It was like, well, at
Yeah.
least the hot one's my job.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, how do you picture him? Like how like do you have a fan cast for Henry or for Ryan?
Oh, okay. So for Henry, I straight up anytime someone ever talks about like a hot Native American guy, I think
Hmm.
of Kiana Gordon. He's like
Ooh.
ultimate. If you watch Twilight, he's on Twilight, but he's in Blood Quantum. That's one of the indigenous zombie horror films on Shudder, and
Mhm.
Kiana Gordon is just like that's my man. Like he's. Mhm. And for I think he could handle playing him too because he's very good at being like charming and smooth, and I feel like Henry is a really big charming
Ooh.
smooth person.
Mm-hmm.
And then
What
I
did
don't know for Ray.
Me neither. Me neither. Because I was going back to Twilight too. Because I know,
Mhm,
I think the only, well, I don't know, but as far as my internet deep dive in Twilight went, what
mhm.
I think all of the characters, all of the native characters in Twilight were played by native people, with the exception of Taylor Lautner, right?
From what I've heard, yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. From what I've heard too. So I was going back to Twilight, and I was thinking that um that Ryan could have been Maya, but I don't
Okay.
know.
Okay. I also like the idea, like Devery Jacobs. She's
Hmm.
one of my go-tos when I have to think of like young native girls, like younger
Oh.
native actresses. She's like in her 20s, 30s. So she would be like the right age. And I feel like
Hmm.
she could get Anne's like not hostility, but like intensity down. Because she's not hostile. She's just very high strung. Um, yeah. I don't know who else though. Do yeah, I can't think of anyone else who I would pick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
But
don't
definitely
know either,
sorry.
cuz no, that I don't know either. But yeah, cuz I was having fun picturing this book as a movie, cuz I feel like it totally reads like a movie, and it
Mhm.
could have I can totally see like Hallmark or Netflix
Yeah.
or whoever wants to buy it, buy it. It's a great book. Um so what did you think of, oh my gosh, Heart of Beat Braves, the band?
Oh, I thought that was fun. I love whenever music and bands and stuff are incorporated in books. So
Mm-hmm.
obviously I love them. And I also liked that for me they represented something a little bit more than that. It was talking about the way that native people today kind of view their heritage and how they honor their culture in a different way from tradition. Um, does that make sense? It's like you don't
Mm-hmm.
go the traditional way, but like this is what we can do, and this is how we honor our ancestors and how we show who we are. And I like the conversation that was had about like how some people had a problem with that. Like Rayanne and people at the center were like, "Oh, we don't really do that here. We're very traditional." But it's like it's still native culture, so
Mm-hmm.
why is it a problem? It's like
Yeah.
Notorious Cree on TikTok. He's
Uh-huh.
a dancer, and he does his videos on TikTok, which is
Mm-hmm.
not traditional. I mean, indigenous people didn't have TikTok hundreds of years ago, but it's still part of the
Yeah.
culture. So I like that that was in there because that's something that's very big, at least in the online native community, is like tradition versus like modernization of tradition.
Mm-hmm. 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 Mm-hmm.
And I would love to hear this native hip hop album in the
Me
real world.
too. Me too. That's why I needed to be a movie so bad. Like I would love to hear what Beat Braves is and what the
Mhm.
author envisioned when she crafted the characters. Because
Right.
I thought that was really fun. Because I in when Henry wasn't sure that he wanted to help out at the center, and he was managing the band, I was like, but dude, like, don't you see that they can relate to each other? Like they can give
Mhm.
you, and even Jack tells him that he could do networking there and it would be really helpful. And I also love what you said about the no, we're very traditional here and stuff. And Ryan wasn't even into giving them a chance. Like she was dead on, like, no, this is not what we do. It's all traditional. And then she heard them and she was like, oh, I like it.
Mhm.
You honor the your culture and the tradition really well. Like you talk about it in the songs.
Mhm.
And I was like, well, see.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think that was one of my favorite aspects of the book is the way that it's like a juxtaposition between like modern indigenous culture and then traditional indigenous culture, because ultimately like that's what this book is about, right? It's about
Mhm.
urban Native Americans.
Yeah, and about and I love that they Henry brought up the fact that more young people would be into it
Mhm.
if they played, because that makes a lot of sense to me, at least. Yeah. Um, is there anything else you would like to add about Heartbeat Braves, or the characters, the books, the setting?
Um, let's see. I I do want to read more of the series because I've heard that the books just get better as they go, and
Ooh.
also I would like to read Esther's little love story. Um,
Yes.
I do plan on picking up more because I like the representation of urban Native people because like you read romance and you know like if there's ever a Native American person, it's usually very fetishy
Yeah.
and done in like a tokenistic way, or it's like one of
Hmm.
those I'm a white lady in a pretty gown and this is my savage man. You know, it's very inappropriate.
Guys, it
So,
was so hard to find a native book. I was crying because it was, at first I picked a book that ended up not being released when it was supposed to release, and I think even now it hasn't been released. So I was like, okay, let's look for others. And literally every single one that I was came up on list was the kidnapping story. And
mhm,
like, I guess it could be done well, even if it is like a, like, I know people who enjoy those dark romance stories,
right.
but I think there's a line there
Yeah,
concerning native stereotypes and stuff, that, and I was not willing to cross that line.
right. So like one thing I would want to add is like if you want to read romance books about Native Americans, just to whoever's watching, then like consider picking up Native authors because then you don't run into that as much.
Yeah, exactly.
It's the same thing with like
Exactly.
most marginalizations. You know, if you want the good representation, then pick it up from someone from that group. Um,
Exactly.
let's see. And I also just want people to understand that like this book and I'm assuming the rest of the series isn't going to be for everyone.
Hmm.
Um, I'm not the biggest romance reader. Primarily, the reason that I enjoyed it was because of the native rep and like
Hmm.
the stuff about the culture. So, if you want something light and fluffy, like brain candy, you know, I say this book is good brain candy. Yeah, so I think
Yeah.
that's my closing statement on the book.
Yeah, I really loved it too, because it was, that's the thing that I love about romance. When you read romance by diverse authors, you get an authentic representation without the heaviness of it,
Mhm,
because that's, I mean, the other book that I read by a native author was in the Roundhouse by Louise
mhm,
Erdrich, and that
mhm,
one is hard. Like, that one is so heavy, but it also included a lot of information, not just in the book, but like in the duration of the plot, but
mhm,
also in the author's note. I really like that.
mhm.
But with romance, you can find those conversations about racism and anti-native behavior without them being so
Right.
heavy. I don't know how to explain it.
Hold on. I'm shaking. Hold on. There we go.
Yeah.
I had to steady my thought. Yeah, I definitely and like I've heard other marginalized people, other people of color, you know, talking about this. And it's like the same conversation that we have with like queer books. Like, not everything
Mhm.
has to be about queer pain. Not everything has to be about Black pain. Not everything has to be about, you know, a tragedy story. And, while those things are real, if you want the lighter stuff, you know, pick up things by those authors. It's like I feel like we have the coming out discussion like every 3 months, where it's like not every gay book needs to be a sad coming out story, and it's like that's true. And there are like light, happy queer books, but the heavier hitting ones are just as valid.
Exactly, exactly. Definitely agreed. Yeah. And I really would love to read like historical romance by
Mhm.
native authors because
Ooh.
again, I couldn't find historical romance by native authors and they all included kidnappy stuff and I was like, no.
I have one that I just got.
Ooh.
I'm gonna go get it. Okay, I'll be right back.
Okay, okay. Oh, exciting. Yeah, guys, I don't know what it is um with Native American representation in romance, but if you look, and I was looking for updated lists, so like when I was in college, they would always tell me to look for things that were 3 years old or newer. So
Mhm.
everything from 2015, I scrapped. I was like, no, I need newer stuff. And even the newer stuff had those kidnappy books. So I'm like, no, no, we need more.
Okay, so the one that I just got is actually it's the first published book in history by a Native American woman, and it is
Whoa,
called
okay.
Pugawea, the Half-Blood by Morning Dove, and it's a romance about a biracial indigenous girl, I believe, and like full-blooded reservation natives versus like European people, and it's supposed to be very interesting. But like, you wanted like the historical. This is 1920s.
Okay, great. Awesome. I wrote it down already. Amazing. Adding it to my TBR immediately. Ah, I'm so excited.
I got them Rex for you.
Yes. Yes, and you always do threads. You're doing amazing work in the
Thank you.
community, and more people need to realize that. So follow Brody if you haven't already. Support them. I will leave their info. I did the live show thingy on my mobile, so I couldn't add all the links. But as soon as this is over, I'll be adding the links to Brody's social media so that you can follow them. I will also leave a link down below for Pamela Sanderson's website so that you can support her as well because these books are really great. We both thought so. So thank you so much, Brody, for joining me
Of
to
course.
talk about this book. I'm so happy that you enjoyed it.
Yes. Yeah. Where's your rating? Did we talk about ratings?
Oh, my rating is 4 stars.
Okay. Okay. Mine's 4 too. So
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah.
same thing.
Yeah, we both enjoyed it. We just hoped it would have been a little bit more of a slow burn, but it was fun nonetheless. Thank you, Bridget and Cande, for interacting with us in the comments. And don't forget that in December we are reading Miracles and Menorahs with Katie. And yeah, it's a Hanukkah book. Get into it.
Ooh.
Um, yeah. I hope she gets more book deals. Me too. Me too. We both do. So thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you soon. Bye.
Bye.